Welcome to Making Chips. We believe that manufacturing is challenging, but if you are connected to a community of leaders, you can elevate your skills, solve your problems, and grow your business. I'm your host, Jason Zenger, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jim Carr. How you doing, Jim?
I'm doing well. You sound like you're a little nasally over there, bud.
I am. I know. I'm a little sick. It was kind of going around our office, and then, I was on vacation in an airplane, and, it's just...
Yeah, I know.
I think it just got me, and I'm just having a hard time breathing.
Well, I heard you sniffling and sneezing, and I went over and took a Zycam right away because I don't want that. So
yeah. Maybe
anyway,
can you grab one of those for me?
Have you ever had one of those Zycam before? I'm not trying to. Zycam is not a sponsor, but I swear to God, they honestly do work. As a matter of fact,
give me one of those.
Yeah, I'll right after we finish this recording, okay. I'd be happy to help you out there. But yeah, we're here. We're at
MXD.
We are here at MXD today, and it always feels good to drive into Goose Island, Chicago. I get my little city fix because I'm not in the city anymore, so I don't get that feel good anymore. So.
You're just another boring.
I'm just another boring suburbanite, living the dream out in the northwest suburbs. But it's okay. We had our time out in the city, and I'm good. I've got a new vision in my life, and that's what I'm trying to work toward.
Yeah. So, Jim, this is going to be an episode that's going to hit very close to home.
It is
for us. But before we even get there, what is keeping you up at night right now?
Well, I thought about it for a while because, in preparation for this episode, it's keeping it all together. We're juggling a lot with Making Chips. We're juggling a lot with our respective manufacturing companies. We're doing a lot.
And you don't even have any kids at home.
I don't have any kids at home, and it's difficult. I'm very involved in the manufacturing company, and I'm very involved in Making Chips, and I worry sometimes that it's spreading me a little too thin. My wife sometimes says. So anyway, I'm managing it, but it's okay. I've got it. But hopefully, through this episode, I can learn a little bit from our guest, who's a very special guest, a very, very special guest, about learning how to reduce some stresses by implementing some tech stack things into our businesses. How about you? What's keeping you awake?
Thanks for asking. I wasn't sure if you were going to. I thought you were just going to,
talk about me.
Exactly. So mine is very similar. What's keeping me up at night? It's a matter of, like you said, spread too thin.
It's a thing.
It is. It's a very real thing. Burnout is a real thing, and being spread too thin, and I had gotten to the point in my career where I was only working on the things that I was most passionate about and where I am best and where I'm the right person in the right seat. And then as we took like a big leap and we grew, it kind of spread me out and, put me into other areas that I don't necessarily want to do. I'm not necessarily the best person to do that, but I'm just trying to fit some capacity because we're having, capacity problems. And I have to, fill these other roles. So that's what's keeping me up at night is that I need to get myself back to where I'm best suited, which is leading and managing the company.
But that's going to spread you too thin again.
No, that's what I should be doing. And I need to make sure that I'm leading other people to be doing the things that I don't need to be doing.
Oh, instead of doing those things. So
exactly.
What has happened is through growth and new opportunities.
I've had to take on responsibilities.
Right. So you want to give those responsibilities back. And you want to delegate them down.
Yep. Exactly.
So somebody else is doing them, so you've got more time for yourself. Oh, I know, but that's tough.
It's hard.
It's tough to give away things to do, and you have to find the people that truly know how to do them well.
Absolutely.
As well as you.
Absolutely.
And somebody that you can trust.
Yes.
And count on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's a tough thing.
Yeah. So do you have any manufacturing news for us, Jim?
I do, as a matter of fact. We talk about this all the time about, manufacturers, and everyone's crying and, wincing over in the corner about they can't find people, right? But the fact is, and it's funny, Nick Gollner, one of our partners, sent us this article as a thought to use as a manufacturing news article. And, as I was previewing it and decided to use it, I thought, man, there's some pretty steep metrics here. And it just starts out, this is from Industry Week, and it says 89% of small manufacturers can't fill job openings. We know, everyone knows, the metalworking nation knows, but what I didn't know is this, and it goes on to say an overwhelming majority, 98.6% of American manufacturing companies, so nearly 100% of American manufacturing companies are small businesses, and 75% of those businesses have fewer than 20 employees. Yeah. Think about that. Think about
staggering.
All the manufacturing companies from coast to coast, north to south, east to west, all of those manufacturing companies across this entire country, 75% have less than 20 employees. I had no idea. I mean, I knew it was big, but I didn't think it was that big.
Yeah, I would be interested in seeing what the percentage of employees are employed, what the percentage of people that are employed at small versus large manufacturing companies. What
it's
differential
huge. It's absolutely huge.
Well, it's going to be less than 98%, obviously.
Right.
But
of course.
I would be interested to see what that statistic looks like. It also says that, those small manufacturing businesses generated 11.6% of the U.S. economic output. So that's interesting as well. I know it used to be a lot higher, and we moved more towards service.
Wasn't it pushing more towards 20% at one time?
Yeah, it was closer to 20 or maybe even above 20. And so it definitely has dipped down, but it's still a very sizable percentage of our U.S. economy.
And it does say, and we know, and I'm sure the metalworking nation that's listening to this right now, we're not telling you anything new, but shifting skill sets due to advancing technologies, misperceptions of the manufacturing jobs. Everyone still thinks it's grandpa's doom and gloom, dirty, dingy why are we still living in the past like this? It's been decades. Why can't we peel this perception away? It drives me nuts. And then, of course, the other big thing is retirement of the baby boomers. What do you know? I'm a baby boomer.
Yep,
I'm not retired yet, but let me tell you, I'm thinking I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm thinking about it. I really, truly am thinking about what does retirement look like for me, and when is that retirement date going to happen?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Your boom is definitely starting to fade.
It is definitely. Well, I'm hitting my apex right around now, but
I don't think you are. I think you've already hit it, Jim.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think you're starting to fade.
Yeah. I'm doing pretty well, so... but it just drives me nuts when I hear all these things, especially about the misperception of the industry and these young millennials and even younger, I guess now. I don't even know what that new demographic is called.
Gen Z,
whatever it is. The manufacturing business, we drive this economy. We don't have to tell. We've been beating this drum for 5 years now. If there was no manufacturing in this economy, we would be a very poor country. But you
need to create, in order for an economy to be fruitful. You need to be able to create something, and that's where, like, so many of these other countries out there that only rely on their natural resources or tourism or other things, they're just they're not as strong. There's so many examples of those things.
But anyway, let's get back to this. So what can you and I do? And I know we're a small little manufacturing podcast, but what can we do to change this perception about our industry?
Well, I think we're doing it. We're doing it. I mean, we're talking about how fun and exciting manufacturing is, and I think that there's so many people so many companies that are doing that same thing. I mean, with like robotics and AI and electronics and sensors and all that kind of stuff. I think it's starting to make manufacturing exciting. So, I mean, before it used to be, kids wanted to be a programmer so they could build websites. Well, now I think that they see that the manufacturing economy is interesting and they can hold a physical product product that they help create, as opposed to just, saying, hey, go to this website for whatever I created. I think that that's starting to drive some of the excitement in the with the newer generations. So why don't we move on to our guest, and I will introduce him. His name is Kaleb Mertz, and he is, of course, a part of the MakingChips team. He is in EOS terms, our integrator, which means he integrates all of the functional areas of the business and brings them all together in order to create the output that we want to create on MakingChips.
And does a very good job.
And he does a very good. I might add. He does a very good job of it. And his official title is MakingChips Team Lead. And so, Kaleb, I know that they've heard your voice on MakingChips before, but welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's really good to be here. I get to see a lot from the outside, and now it's fun to be here on the inside too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, Kaleb, tell the metalworking nation that doesn't know what happens behind the scenes at MakingChips, and especially MakingChips 2.0, because we have grown from
just Jim and Jason
from a weekly podcast.
Now we have a team.
To a team of 7 people that, also has marketing services. We're a marketing agency. So why don't you share with the metalworking nation a little
Jim,
bit
I think
about...
the term nowadays is growth agency. We're a growth agency for manufacturing leaders, I think is what we call ourselves.
Whatever you want to call it. We do have those services available to anyone that wants to. But nonetheless, tell the metalworking nation a little bit about what you do on a daily basis so they can get an idea on how you're going to help them integrate their tech stack.
Yeah, well, basically it started when we went off on MakingChips 2.0 back in 2018, at the end of 2018. And we had a lot of vision for where things should go for this new version of MakingChips, going from 2 guys on a podcast that
working part-time,
working exactly with full-time jobs running companies, to having a full team that we're getting close to almost close to 10 people now.
Wow. And the expectations were high.
Exactly, yes.
So like as a little bit of an analogy, it went from, Jim and Jason managing our checking account basically through the logging into the bank account to we need to actually review financials on a monthly basis. So, things had to change, and they had to change rapidly. And so you integrated a lot of software into the company in order to help automate those things.
Yeah, definitely. Exactly. So back in December, when the new MakingChips 2.0 was founded at the time, there were just a lot of things that needed to be learned about starting this new agency, especially on the side of business logistics. And a lot of that had to be done just of us internally. We couldn't hire people right away. We had no revenue right away, of course, the struggles of a startup. And because of that, I had to find other solutions. It couldn't just be me sitting there all day manually doing work. We had to find fairly cheap solutions to be able to automate the things that we shouldn't be spending our time doing.
So Kaleb, what's a tech stack?
What is a tech stack?
Yeah, so a tech stack, a lot of it's known in programming. Like if you just Google search it, you'll see a lot of definitions on the programming side of things, of different programming languages and frameworks integrated together. But the way we use it in the agency space and beyond that, even just for every company, is simply that they're the tools, the technology tools that you use to run your business well and make it more successful.
ERP, accounting software.
Yep.
Help me out.
Accounting, payroll, finance,
everything. It's
analytics.
Every company, unless you're doing pen and paper for everything, every company has a tech stack.
Are you doing pen and paper anymore?
No.
If you're still doing pen and paper, you're going to be out of business
There's
soon.
nobody out there that's just doing. I shouldn't say nobody.
Never say never.
I
always
say
remember
that.
to never
Yeah.
say always.
So
and never.
almost 99.999% of companies out there have a tech stack, and it's
in
just
some
a matter
capacity,
of
yes.
like, do you have the right tech stack, so that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, exactly. We'll talk about that, but it's a matter of, is it robust enough?
Yeah, so why should we care about what our tech stack is?
Yeah, perfect. And here's the main thing. You as manufacturing leaders in this industry, you talked about what keeps you up at night. And a lot of that, in the end, has to do with a certain dollar amount you're looking at, right? No matter what that is, whether it's shipping on time or operations, whatever it might be, in the end, it's that bottom line. And basically, the the whole theory behind what I have to say here and what I've been doing over the past couple of months is to have an impact on that bottom line, to make
so it
sure
should
you
be
don't
driving your profitability.
exactly, that you don't have people doing things that they shouldn't be doing. And basically it's the theory of you can do anything manually, but a lot of times you don't want to.
Right. I mean, it's the same reason why you buy a robot or a collaborative robot in your shop. It's because you want to drive more money to the bottom line. And the same reason you implement technology in your tech stack or change your tech stack is because you want to drive money to your bottom line.
Okay, so let's say we didn't know each other. Let's say I'm one of the people that are listening to this show right now. What are the types of tech solutions that a small manufacturing company could immediately start to implement and integrate? So we know like accounting software, QuickBooks Online. I don't think MakingChips is using QuickBooks Online. Car does. But and how do all those things integrate with each other? Like, why don't you tell the Metalworking Nation what happens when we get a new marketing client or when we get a new media client and the sponsorship works. So we identify a prospect. That prospect goes into...
So let me jump right into there. So it starts by we identify a prospect, and usually there's some sort of back and forth by email, let's say. So we're emailing back and forth. We use Gmail. That may be different for other companies, but that doesn't matter. That integrates directly with our CRM system, HubSpot. Exactly. So every time you're interacting with a new prospect, everything is being recorded in HubSpot. That's what we utilize as our CRM and marketing automation system.
Yeah. So like as an example, Jim, if you or Caleb or Nick or anybody else emails a client, that gets put into the HubSpot CRM, which then allows me to be able to go in there and look and say, okay, I want to see all of the communications with this client, and I can see it all there, as opposed to calling you and be like, hey, Jim, did you talk to so-and-so about this? Because I'm really, I had this idea. And I can just, without wasting your time, I can just log in and look at those notes myself. Does that make sense, Caleb?
Yeah, exactly. And it goes even beyond that. So you can go in and look at that. You might have different people, like in our case, working on the same, what we call a deal on the same prospect. And but even further than that, what happens when that actually becomes a sale, right? It gets closer. You want to send a proposal. Okay, they're actually really interested. So it's time for a proposal. So we use a software called PandaDoc, which creates that proposal, makes it look really good. We send that to them through there.
What is it called again?
PandaDoc.
PandaDoc.
Yeah, it pulls in all the information from HubSpot too.
No
so
kidding.
you're not entering any data about that person. It already has everything
So
from HubSpot.
it pulls out the contact name, the name of the company, the address, the zip code, the terms of the contract, everything. It pulls it right through.
Pulls it right through,
I
and
had no idea.
It'll even place it within anywhere you've chosen to place it within that contract.
No kidding.
So to keep going from there, and this is just an example, so I think it's great that we're talking about this, is to go from there so that that person at that company receives this proposal. They move on to sign it. We can see, before they even sign it though, we can see what they looked at, how long they looked at, what pages. If they sat really long on one page, they might be confused. We can reach out if we need to. But let's say they sign that. PandaDoc integrates directly into our accounting software, Xero. So they sign it. It goes to Xero, our accounting software, and automatically creates an invoice with all their information in it, their email, their address, their contact info, creates that invoice for the exact amount.
All automated.
All automated. I don't touch anything.
Wow.
It creates the invoice for that
Did
exact
you know that,
amount.
Jason?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
I did not know this. I did not know this.
Yeah, and then for security reasons, I still approve it. So it could be sent to them right away, but we always want to review it, and we want to make these invoices personal, obviously.
So what does it do? Ping you with an email and says that it's just about ready to send an invoice to John Doe, and then you have to just sign off on it by
Exactly. I just say
authorizing?
approve, and it sends automatically. In that invoice that the customer receives, there's links directly in there that they can pay from. They click those links. They can pay the amount that's due for that contract, and then that goes straight into our accounting software and into our bank directly, and it's right away tracked. So in our accounting software, we already know they paid. We don't have to go in manually and say, hey, they paid. It happens by itself.
Well, first of all, how many different technologies are we utilizing at Making Chips? A, that's the first question. How many different peripherals? And then B, is 100%, well, obviously not 100% of all those peripherals are totally integrated, but I think more importantly is how long did it take to set it all up?
Yeah, that's a great point. So I actually have in front of me here a little flowchart of all of the software in our tech stack.
That's crazy.
And
there's like 20 of them on that sheet.
It looks like a lot, and we'll actually be posting this out. I'm going to be writing an original article that'll go on Making Chips, and you can check it out and take a look at what this looks like. And when you look at it, it's pretty crazy, and it might deter you. But the reason that it doesn't deter me is because I barely touch any of these, right? So like you're saying, it's one setup, but once in a while I have to go in on one of these and approve something or make sure it follows the workflow. But I've set this up, and now it functions pretty much by itself.
It looks like the foundation is HubSpot, though. Or
it is.
That's where
it is for a
starts.
lot of us. Yeah, for a lot of what's going on here, it does, because a lot of the prospects come in through that location. But to answer your question on how long this took, it did take a couple months to get everything in place the way it needed to be to run a business. But here's the thing. We were starting a business pretty much from scratch. This was brand new with new employees. We didn't have employees before. And so there was a lot of systems that needed to be in place. You already know, most of the business owners, unless they're starting a brand new company, know the procedures that they're already taking. They already know the processes that they're currently doing. And if you lay that out and flow that out, you'd very easily be able to make this a lot quicker of an integration.
So did you count how many different applications we're using at one time or any particular day?
Yeah, so currently we actually use 15 applications just on the side of accounting, finance and operations, and HR. So that
seems like a lot.
It does.
It does seem like a lot.
15 different things. And then besides that, we actually go out and more on the marketing side, we have almost 15 or 20 again. And
but like as an example, Jim, so like I probably know a little bit more about like what Kaleb's doing with this, but so for the payroll, when he enters the payroll and it gets processed, it flows directly into our accounting software, so he doesn't have to go in there and make a journal entry and enter what the payroll records are, which I think you probably end up having to do. They automatically
we do it through QuickBooks.
Okay, so
you
have
so
you do your payroll in QuickBooks. But we have at Making Chips, we have two separate systems for payroll. We have
what do we use?
We use Gusto for our payroll, and then we use
Gusto,
Xero for our accounting. And so those two things get integrated with each other, so Kaleb doesn't have to do anything.
Exactly, and it goes even beyond that. We also have our 401k, which goes through. It's called Guideline.
Yeah, and that's integrated.
That
also.
Integrates also directly with that. And so that's all synced together. So that 15 pieces, that's just accounting, finance, HR, and operations, may seem daunting, but that's what was necessary to make it easy on us internally, and also to have a better user experience. Because part of what I was talking about with that workflow that we were looking at, with sending out an invoice and what that looks like, that's very user friendly. We got feedback actually 2 weeks ago from one of our current sponsors, and they said, "Hey, this was like the easiest thing ever." Because it was awesome. Because we were quick because we automated what needed to be automated, and we made personal what should be personal.
One last question on like the finance and accounting side. So I guess expense reporting has been a pain point for us, and tell us what kind of solution we have in place for that.
Yeah, definitely. So we've had this for us, and then also for a couple other companies actually that we work alongside with. And in the traditional sense, and this may be different at every company, but in some form, you might have some outside salespeople, or it might not even be outside salespeople. But especially with outside salespeople, the expense reporting is often very difficult to be on, because you have to be reminding them, hey, turn this in. And half the time it's some sort of Excel document that has
That's
certain
what my sales manager uses.
which has certain fields, and they have to fill out those fields, what they were for, so that the accounting knows what accounts they go to and how they were spent. But even before that, they have to be approved, usually by someone. If it's a bigger company, that might go through more than one person even. So currently, we're actually in the process of doing this for a client of ours, where we have an expense reporting app that these
One of MakingChips marketing clients, we're helping them integrate
Correct.
this as a solution.
Yes. So they've struggled with a lot of process on their end, and it gets confusing really quick, and there's just a lot of admin work there. So what happens now is, and this is in process, is about to be completed. What happens now with this new version is that these outside sales reps can simply take a picture of their receipts or whatever it might be, and they have a choice of a drop down in this app of what account it's supposed to go to. Any fields that they need to fill out they can automatically fill out, and from there, if they click submit, it goes to whoever needs to approve it. So it can go through multiple approvers or one approver. That just depends on the company, obviously. And once that individual approves it, it goes to accounting. And in traditional sense, accounting has to copy and paste from that Excel file, and now it actually goes directly into their accounting software. And they can go in and say, yes, 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 and just basically mark a check mark next to everything to make sure that it goes in directly, so that they're not copying and pasting data from an Excel file.
And what software solution is that called?
That is Sage Accounting.
Sage?
That they use, yes.
Yeah. Because I know QuickBooks, my office manager, Linda, just I think yesterday, as a matter of fact, said that QuickBooks just introduced the same thing, and you send your receipt to receipts at QuickBooks Online or something like that, and it automatically. I actually mentioned to her the other day, I'm like, I need to see a demo of it, because once I understand how the process works, then we can go ahead and integrate it. But it seems pretty easy.
Exactly. And I mean, at MakingChips, we're lucky because Xero, it's similar to QuickBooks, also has that kind of a thing. They have a native app that you can take a picture of it and select which account it goes to, and then accounting just has to approve it.
Do you think a lot of manufacturing companies out there are wasting a lot of time because they're not integrating their tech stack with each other?
Yeah, I think so. I think the hardest thing is, I think a lot of, it doesn't matter who it is in general, but believe that they're doing things the most efficiently as they can. It's kind of a natural human response. And I've always, this may sound odd, but I've kind of always had the opposite thought process. I've always thought, I can always do this better. There's always a way I can do this better. And I know a lot of manufacturers have that thought process in regards to their shop or their operations or whatever it might be, but I don't think that often comes across their mind in regards to maybe these kind of more minute things that actually add up in the long run.
So why do you think that people believe that it's so difficult to do that integration? You think it's just because the whole integration side of things has changed and gotten so much better recently?
Yeah, I think the amount of change that has happened the past 10, 20 years, it's quite a shift. But on top of the technology side, it really is the thought process side. Kind of like what I was saying, is really digging in and understanding how your employees do what they do. So what are they doing? What are the actual processes? And sometimes, if, to be honest, and you might not be doing this as the manufacturing leader yourself, someone else may be doing this if it's a larger company, maybe a manager. But if you sit down for a few minutes and just have them walk through something that they do on a daily basis, you'll probably find pretty quickly how much manual work might be in there. And if you can think of a way that this is being transferred from here to here, it's probably possible to do it in most instances.
If you can find that application, that software to actually automate that process.
Well, what's great is there's also tools out there now that integrate two pieces of software together, and that's their only job. So there's a website called Zapier.com, and if you go on there, you can see that's
Zapier.
Yep, correct. If you go on there, you can find a lot of different web applications and software systems, and basically say, okay, if this happens in this software, then I want it to send this piece of data to this software. And it's like
So
$10 a month for that or something.
Oh, so Zapier is the conduit between for integration between applications. Is that right?
Yeah, so we chose our applications mostly integrate natively, which is
Right.
awesome. But if they don't, there's
You
still
can
other
use
solutions.
Zapier to create the link for you.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
And there's other tools like that out there.
So what if something goes down? You know, that's going to be a problem because we've got all these different applications and we're linking them together. Some that aren't natively linked together, and some that you have to use Zapier to help link. What if there's a roadblock? I mean, that's
No,
gonna
that's
be
a great point.
That's a
Of course.
pain point, man.
Something can easily go down and something can happen. And this is what I'd suggest in that case is, again, this does take a little bit to set up, right? But once it's set up, it automates itself. And at that point, you're saving yourself a lot of money in the end on a lot of admin work being done that doesn't need to be done by whoever it is. It might be by you as a leader or by your employees. But that time spent, if once in a while something does happen, you should have a contact that knows that either set this up or knows how those integrations work, because that can always be rerouted. So if a connection does have an issue or something happens, you can always, to put it in simplest terms, export from one piece of software and import into the other.
Yeah, I think you should
If that
always
really
have
needed to happen.
you should always have the expectation that it's not going to work perfectly all the time, and that should never be the reason to hold you back from trying to do some of these integrations.
It's pretty
And
scary though.
It is, but I mean,
know-
Jim, do your machine tools work perfectly all the time? No. Mistakes happen,
Yeah.
and machines run down.
It's
and
mostly
code
mistakes are-
changes in software, and that might cause integration issues. But I think just like with machining, if you have some kind of quality control over the integrations, and you're checking on those things, then you're going to find where it breaks down and then fix the problem. But I think in the long run, you need to be able to do these integrations in order to provide that efficiency. So Kaleb, what does a manufacturing leader need to do now in order to get their company moving in the right direction of automating through some of these technology stack integrations?
Well, I'd start by really mapping out your current processes, right? That's important, because you don't want to just jump into a piece of technology before you really know its capabilities.
Just because it sounds
if it fits
fun.
you well.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Because I'll be honest, I've run into that a lot. Like, I love this kind of stuff, so I'm like, oh wow, we should get this piece of software. It's only $5 a month, but then
five, 10,
exactly
25, 16,
it adds up
7,
quick.
yeah.
So you want to be careful of that too. You don't want to get too overexcited and jump right into it. So really map out those processes, and then from there you can see what works for you. And a lot of that is,
When you say map out the process, you mean like go around, talk to people, say, how do you do this, and see how long it takes them to do each one of those things?
I think what you mean is map out what you need to get done, map out the process of how your company runs, and then based on that, then you're going to make a choice on an application to select.
Exactly. It's both of those. I mean, if you're running a smaller machine shop, for example, you might have a really good understanding of your processes, but still on the individual level, what one of your employees might be doing, they might have this side spreadsheet that they use to move something from something else, and you don't really know because that's just how they've done it. And why should they tell you that they have this spreadsheet on the side, right?
So, Kaleb, you mentioned in the beginning of this episode that you were actually going to write an article on MakingChips.com, and you're going to give us a visual representation of what our tech stack looks like in order to inspire the manufacturing leaders out there about how they can bring this kind of automation to their companies, correct? How do we get access to that article?
Yeah, if you go to makingchips.com/tech stack, that's TECHSTACK. Yep, all one word. You'll find the article there. That's a short link to go there. But just a side note here, probably the best way to get access to it is making sure to subscribe to our blog, The Boring Bar. And that's simply because that will be sent out along with that in there, and so you'll get access to it right from there.
And share with the Metalworking Nation what we just set up with regards to text. They can instantly subscribe to Making Chips by texting.
Yeah, perfect. So we just made it a lot easier for you to subscribe to Making Chips. If you text chips.
So wait, pause. Everybody get out their cell phone. Type this number in your texting.
Text chips to 38470.
38470.
And then they'll get an automated response that says what, Kaleb?
Then it will ask for your email so we can send you that Boring Bar newsletter.
Perfect. Again, text the word CHIPS, CHIPS, to
38470.
Cool. I did it this morning. It was really awesome.
Great. Well, thank you, Kaleb. And if anybody needs to get a hold of you, they can just email you, Kaleb@makingchips.com, or contact you over LinkedIn.
I have one more question.
Go ahead, Jim.
Okay. So I'm that guy out in Nebraska that's running a 5-man machine shop, and I'm still doing everything by paper. I'm just creating the scenario. What is the number one application that you think that he can go out tomorrow at a very low cost and start utilizing, other than Gmail, in his business to make his life just a little bit easier than it was yesterday? The one thing. I know there's a lot.
You're not going to like my answer, but
Okay.
I think that's really hard to say because
Okay.
it really
I want it.
It really depends on the person,
Jim
on the
asked a lot of dumb
company.
questions.
on the-
so-
No,
so-
I know there's people out there that aren't using hardly anything.
No, you're
and I
totally
don't want
right.
people to be daunted by this process. I think it's something that you need to take incrementally, and you add on to it as you go, and you have to make good choices along the way. And that's what Making Chips is all about. We're here to equip and inspire a manufacturing leader. So let's help them. Let's give them some granular information to help them make their life easier to starting tomorrow.
Yeah, so it really does depend on the application and what your processes look like I said before. But we do build a lot on HubSpot ourselves. So we are HubSpot partners. So if you're ever interested in just some info, feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to help with that. And I think it really is, well, I'll say first and foremost, honestly, a lot of it is, we were talking about this yesterday actually in the office, is being a good Googler. So
Being a good Googler.
Yeah.
Okay, what does that mean?
use your free resources that you have in front of me. I to be honest, most of the things I've learned have been from just researching things. If I have someone in the office come up to me and they say, Kaleb, I don't think this is possible. If I know it's possible, I'll try and help out. But if I don't know, I'll ask, did you Google it? And if they say no, I'll say, go Google it. And half the time, there is some sort of solution to it. So it sounds odd, but it almost is a skill to be able to search and find solutions for it. That's how I came across all of these different technologies and how I knew they were integrated, because I did the research on it. So part of that is research, but also as a manufacturing leader, you're obviously busy and you might not be spending the time doing research on individual technologies. So,
and I would say, like 5 years ago, Jim, like these integrations were not as prevalent as they are
I'm
now.
sure they weren't.
And now it's just it's where people are going, because there's less and less people that are available to do some of these tasks. So we have to find out, how to automate our processes in order to do things more efficiently. It's what you and I are doing with our new ERP systems, and it's just a future direction of business. And if you're not doing this, you're really going to get left behind, or you're not going to be competitive because you're going to have to employ too many people to do it. You might as well either go pen and paper or go full integration.
So kind of just to sum this up, what I really wanted to inspire in Metalworking Nation through this is just to think about where you're at. We focus a lot on the shop floor, on the automation behind that, on the data behind that. We track apart how that flows through the shop. Todd Hockenberry did an episode on marketing automation a little bit ago. That's episode 186. You should definitely check that out, because that's definitely part of this. But outside of what's happening on the shop floor, are there things you can do to really affect your bottom line? And I think it's just a matter of asking the question and trying to dig in a little bit. And I know there's things in every shop that can be done in a different way.
Sounds great. So interesting. Thank you, Kaleb. Appreciate that. That was really insightful for me. Being a partner in this business, I didn't even know half of what you were doing, and now I do. but I didn't realize that there was a tool to integrate between the applications. But very interesting. That's it. I think that's all we got for me. But you know what is really interesting, Jason? I always say if you're not making chips, you're not making money. But at the end of the day, this is not even related to making chips. Metal chips out in the shop.
But it's still going to help you make money.
That's what I mean. That's a
good thought.
Integration, process, just pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, learning a little bit more, asking questions. Those are the things that are really going to push you to the next level and make you more profitable, to make you more money.
Bam.
Bam.